Hello viewers and welcome once again to our studios in Doordarshan Kendra Itanagar. I am your host Sanju Dodum. UPSC or Union Public Service Commission is India's central recruiting agency responsible for appointments to and examinations for All India Services and Group A and Group B of Central Services. The examinations conducted by this historical and prestigious agency, from which the rank and file of our country's civil service officials are derived, is the ultimate litmus test for aspiring candidates from across the country. Of late, the people of Arunachal Pradesh have been making their mark in this highly competitive exam. In fact, this year we've had not one or two but three extraordinary ladies from our state cracking this extremely tough and competitive examination and making the entire state proud in the process. Today in our studio I have with me one of these ladies. Ladies and gentlemen, we are very proud to have with us Miss Hage Mamu, direct selection for IAS UPSC 2016 and All India rank 691. Ms. Mamu, first of all, congratulations on your achievement. You've made us and the entire state very proud, and also welcome to our studios. Ms. Mamu, my first question to you is the fairly obvious one. Did you always know that you wanted to be in civil service?
For me, I knew one thing, that I wanted to be in the service, serve the society and have some kind of a social contribution. But civil services and UPSC and the civil services examinations per se was not exactly in my focus area initially.
Right.
But as I progressed in life through my college, through my education, then a job, and then I've come to a realization that this is one good platform for me to give me that kind of opportunity to serve.
So this is more of like a gradual transition.
Yes, for me.
Okay. And can I ask you, was this your first attempt when you cleared the examination, or did you?
It was my first attempt after a full-fledged preparation.
Right.
Initially, I did appear once, just the prelims, but that was prior to my preparation. But first, technically, yes, first time mains and first time interview.
Okay,
yes.
that's quite commendable, actually, bearing in mind how many people actually attempt these examinations over the years but never make it. Now, Ms. Mamu, one thing which we would like to highlight is, of course, that in our state we seem to lack young ideals to look up to. I think since now you are actually an example that people can aspire to, what would you share in terms of preparation for the examination? How do you actually go on about doing it?
Okay. At this time and age, preparing for these competitive exams, not just UPSC, any exam, for that matter, even APCS, social media and internet, there's a plethora of sources.
Right.
So it's not just restricted to books or classroom techniques. So I would say that my strategy would be to have an all-encompassing strategy and try to use all the sources that is in your hand. So internet is a big positive in that sense. So for me, I did make use of these tools, as well as you should be able to strategize along with have some peer groups, have some some kind of guidance initially. So these are the ways, these are the strategies that I have used personally. So I feel that the youth should also explore this, and especially at this age where the youth are more into internet, more into social media, they should be able to take the positives out of it, rather than the negative, get into the negatives of it. So yeah.
Right. So as far as mediums and sources are concerned, I think we are we have quite a lot of things in our disposal in today's time, as against to, let's say, how it was a few years ago.
You're talking in terms of social media?
I'm talking, let's say, very specifically about internet services and electronic based.
Definitely, definitely.
Now, it's interesting that you mentioned that perhaps the youth of today should be focusing more on the positives rather than the negatives. Do you feel, and this is just a little off topic, but do you feel that perhaps because of this boom in social media, do you think sometimes it can be a bit of a distraction also for the youngsters, that perhaps rather than focusing on the important thing, they're just wasting too much time over you know?
There's always a bane and a boon to everything, but it's a very subjective, you know, individualistic thing for everybody to realize what is wrong or right for him. So everybody needs to be able to introspect and see what is wrong or right, to be able to analyze and see. So that's where, you know, I feel a lot of youth, especially unguided youth, maybe they go a little astray. But you know, that's the only way I feel, because there's a bane and boon to everything.
Okay.
Social media, you know, included.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's get back to your preparation for the examination. Take us through a typical day, which, or rather, how you would have spent a typical day while you were preparing for the examination.
It included a lot of study hours, intermittently, of course. It was not a continuous. That's impossible to do also. I would generally wake up early by say about 8 or 9.
Right.
You know, have my breakfast, and then I had registered myself for a reading room. Because, you know, homely environment sometimes is not right. It may be right for some people. For me personally, it didn't work out like that. So reading room, I would be there till say about lunchtime. Lunchtime, you know, take a break or so. And then evening again proceed for the studies, for the preparation. And newspaper, of course, like early morning newspaper was a must. So, but not too intense, intermittent preparation was my strategy. So I would say that, you know, consistently, I did this, I followed this routine pretty much every day. Yes.
But do you feel that perhaps depending on the individual in question, people need to sort of perhaps, you know, bearing in mind their own personality and also the subjects that they choose, do you think they should perhaps, you know, alternate between, you know, studying techniques, or maybe, you know, they should sort of do what works for them? Or is there any particular way that you think?
No. There is no particular way. It's up to you to decide what strategy works best for you.
Right.
So some people are early morning risers. For them, their mind works the best in the morning. For some people, late night study is the strategy. So it's very subjective. You, like I said before, you really need to know your strengths and weaknesses. I may advise them to do this book, follow this source, but at the end of the day, it's up to them, you know, how they conduct their daily routine every day. So
true.
That's the
were you surprised at all when the results were declared and you actually came to know that you actually made it?
I was surprised, but I did know that I worked very hard. So I did think I was, you know, in some sense deserving, but I was surprised to see my rank actually. I didn't expect I didn't think I would get a very good rank, but
you were fairly confident you would make it.
Yeah, I was fairly confident that I would make it in the list, but you know, rank wise, I was not very confident where I would fall at an all India level.
Right.
So I was very happy and fortunate to have, you know.
It was definitely a pleasant surprise for you, I'm sure.
Yeah, very pleasant.
Now, in terms of you know, support and help from the family and parents, how much of a role do you think they played in your success?
Oh, major role. Yeah. A very big role. Especially my father. He himself is in the services, so you know, some kind of guidance and some kind of direction was there. So for me, I'm very fortunate and blessed that I had that kind of support. For many, you know, I know some of my friends who are not able to, you know, get any direction, you know, in terms of familial support.
Right.
For me, my father and, you know, my family, big support.
So, and there's having somebody in the family, like you said, your father himself, who was in the services, does that actually you know, like somehow perhaps subconsciously inspired you along the way that perhaps you also want to go down the same path?
Yes. Definitely subconsciously also, but at a later on, of course, at a very conscious level also, very motivating and inspiring to know that you can have that much command and resources in your hand to be able to contribute so much, to do so much. And I had very fortunately, I had a first-hand experience, of course, you know, within family. So for me, I think, yeah, familial support was very important, and in that sense, very inspiring also.
Okay. Yeah. So going by what you just mentioned, so you know, this zeal, the zest to perhaps serve the society and the country at large, was that something which has been a motivational factor for you from within?
Yeah, from the beginning, I knew that there has to be a social component to my journey. I knew that there has to be some kind of a, you know, social contribution to make some differences, and especially I would like to mention that as a woman, you know, we do face a lot of challenges. So for me, you know, that aspect is very important, that I have to make some kind of social contribution towards women, towards the poor, any you know, wherever I can, you know, take up challenges and make some changes. So yeah.
Right. Other than, of course, your own personal motivation, your family support, and you know, your father being an inspiration, is there anything else that you can perhaps attribute to, you know, attribute your success to? Perhaps this kind of schooling you had, or perhaps the kind of friend circle you probably had. Is there anyone else you think who, or anything or anyone else who majorly contributed to your success in the examinations?
Yes, friends, of course, not too many, a handful only, but you know, very fortunately, I had very supportive friends, you know, even if, you know, I didn't meet them for months, there was no problem from their side. So that ways, you know, you need to also choose wisely, you know, who your friend circle is.
Right.
Apart from that, you had spoken about what the other aspect, schooling and everything.
Schooling,
yes,
yeah.
Schooling, of course, very, very important. I had gone to the Assam, I was in the Assam Valley School, and that's where I think I got a first-hand experience and exposure to diverse aspects of life, character building, personality building. I think that's where majorly, you know, I would say that personality-wise and character-wise, I had a very positive experience there. So along those lines, I feel education, quality education should be worked upon, you know, and at a state and domestic level. Otherwise, you know, many of us, we're, you know, have to go and enroll ourselves in schools far off. So, you know, in that, along those lines, I'm just, you know.
Well, let's delve into that a little bit, actually, since you mentioned it. Do you feel that perhaps the schooling system or the schools in our state, do you think they do somewhere lag behind compared to other states when it comes to overall development of a student's personality? Because I think many times the focal point is always either about studies or sports rather than, you know, an overall development of a person. Do you feel that is something which we need to really work on?
Definitely we do need to work on that. In terms of quality education, I would say just does not include marks and books, you know. I feel that holistically a lot of aspects should be worked upon, such as, say, even ECS, extracurricular activities, or even teacher training, you know. We need to work upon a lot of things to have quality education in a holistic sense, not just in terms of, you know, bookish or marks or like rote memorization. So I feel holistically there are many challenges that can be worked upon, especially at the education sector.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Now, let's talk a little bit about, again, our state. Now, supposing if you were to be posted within our state, is there anything specifically that you would like to change or see it change with respect to the way things are done at official or at bureaucratic level? Is there anything that you wish to change, perhaps?
At a bureaucratic level, I think it's too early to speak for me at the moment, because I'm only going to go training now in August. But apart from that, in terms of other aspects, I would say, like I said, education, that is a very important sector, because that's where the youth is, you're cultivating the youth, you know, through education, through your schools. So I feel education sector is very important. Schools, colleges, NITs and IITs and AIMS and everything, I think that should be worked upon. Apart from that, after education, of course, you know, employability, I feel, you know, there should be more more opportunities, more market linkages, more interconnectedness in terms of logistics and roads also. So I feel these are the areas that, you know, are that should be worked upon, and these are the of course, I also personally would like to work upon these areas as a bureaucrat when posted here.
Okay. Now, like I said, you actually you know, don't quite have the experience of being within the system as of now, but I'm sure within 2 years you will be well versed in that. But right now, even though lacking that experience, how much of a difference do you think a good, honest, hardworking officer can make within a system which, you know, as the one that prevails within our country or in our state?
I think this particular role as an officer, you know, development comes in a coordinated effort. So I do feel that an officer is one significant part of it, a very important element of it. But I think it's a, you know, a coordinated effort, development and progress. So officer, of course, I would say is a very important role, because you're directly in touch at the ground level as well as, you know, at a higher level. So I feel more than just the power and the command that you have in your resources, I would have as in my hands as an officer. I think the more important role is that you are able to bring some kind of a mediating role from the ground level to, you know, the higher level. So I think, yeah.
So working on that direction, let's say supposing when you do actually, you know, come out of the academy as an officer, do you intend to perhaps have a more direct connection with the public, perhaps through the means of social media? Do you have any of those plans? Because I think lately we see a lot of officers across the country who actually communicate directly with people and ask them about their grievances and other things so that they can work on it. Do you have similar plans?
Of course. I mean, the government currently is focusing a lot on, you know, reaching out to people through these channels. So of course I would want to also, and I would in future be want to, you know, reach out to people, you know, firsthand. So yeah, that would be one of my tools to, you know.
Right. Now the thing is, again, because we're on this topic, people tend to sometimes question the effectiveness of such methods, as in, you know, like you mentioned, there's definitely a very deliberate outreach from the government's side to reach out to people and have them address their grievances. But many times people feel that even if you do actually, you know, tell the government or the officials about it, many times, you know, no concrete action is actually taken. So how do you, you know, how do you look at that accusation? Do you think that's fair, or do you think we're still in a phase where we're transitioning a little bit?
I think, you know, when someone like an officer or say someone in the, you know, government is reaching out to public, you're saying through social media and these tools, you know, using internet. I feel, of course, it's a large group that you're trying to, you know, large group of, large number of complaints, large number of voices that you're trying to hear. So I think as much as one can, with the power and resources that I can have, I would obviously try to, you know, reach out and cater to each and everyone. But I think, you know, it's
a little difficult.
It's a little difficult to, you know, to be able to listen to each and every voice. So I think that's where like a little bit of, you know, internet trolls, they say, right, happens, right? So
I think we'll have to wait perhaps another 2 years before we see how well you actually handle all of that. Anyways, now let me ask you something very basic. Now, as I mentioned earlier, we do tend to lack young and youthful icons in our state who youngsters can look up to and aspire to be like. Now, since you know, you're such a positive influence to the society, what would you say to aspiring candidates who are preparing for civil services, be it the central civil services or state?
I would say that you should be very consistent and sincere in your efforts. If it's something that you really desire, you will automatically, you know, genuinely give your 100%. So I would say that just be sincere in your preparation. And, you know, for me personally, my strategy was that I was not competing with anyone or at any level. I was, you know, for my own sake, sincerely, and the efforts came out sincerely. So my message to the youth would be, have some focus, you know, be determined, make your, set your goals, right, and set your priorities right, and whatever you endeavor, it'll be very easy.
Okay.
Yeah.
One thing which we have noticed lately has been the rise and the proliferation of a lot of coaching institutes, and this has been the case especially in the capital city. How far do you think these coaching institutes make a difference when it comes to a particular candidate's success?
Coaching institute, I think for someone who has no direction or guidance, prior guidance, in that sense I think coaching institute, you know, does help to a certain extent, but largely this examination requires a lot of self-effort. That is very important, you know, because you're dealing with current affairs, you're dealing with newspapers, everyday affairs. So, you know, coaching material can only so much give you, you know, give you a little guidance. But apart from that, I think very broadly it's self-effort and, you know, exploring your other channels that you can come across. So,
right. Did you actually attend any coaching institutes while preparing for this examinations?
I was in Delhi.
Okay.
I was in Vajiram and Ravi. It's a coaching institute there. So I did my prelims coaching there, and after that, you know, largely it was self-study.
So basically, it's a bit of both, really. You need help where you can get it from, but most of it is something you have to do it yourself.
These exams are mostly now, you know, being very current affairs focused. So that's not something that coaching institute can teach you, right? So, you know.
Okay. Now, let me ask another question. See, we tend to have a lot of candidates. In fact, a disproportionate amount of aspiring candidates with respect to the amount of vacancies we have. And this is true not only with respect to civil services in the center, but rather even in the state level. Now, it's a known fact that not everybody is going to make it. People do tend to, you know, a lot of people tend to, I wouldn't say waste their time, but they tend to attempt it many a times, and ultimately, you know, they either make it or they don't. Now, like I mentioned, it's disproportionate. Now, what would you say to those people who are very likely they won't make it, and it's a majority of them? What would you suggest to them in terms of you know, career progression and getting ahead in life?
I would say that something like you know, UPSC exam is like you said, you know, not many people would be able to make it because of many factors like lack of guidance and all of that. But I would say that, you know, there are always other potentials. It's just that maybe, you know, you've not gotten any sense of direction in that particular field. But I do feel that there's a lot of potential in the youth, and, you know, it's not just a competitive exam, you know, there are other areas also. So whatever you're passionate about, whatever your interest areas are, if you're able to capitalize on it and realize at a certain stage that, you know, this is where you can, you know, make a career out of, where you can grow progressively. So I think, like I said again, initially introspective, you need to know which interest areas, you know, you can capitalize on. So I do think that in that sense, state support also should be there, and parent support also, in terms of letting your child, you know, go explore other potential, because, you know.
Do you think that perhaps that's where sometimes people from our state tend to lack as well? They tend to do that introspection and come to that self-realization a little late in life, after they have probably, you know, attempted examinations of this sort couple of you know, 5-6 times, and then they realize they probably can't.
I mean, I would say that it's never too late, you know, if it's something that you're really passionate about. I mean, not just, I'm not like this, I'm talking aside from the competitive exams. If there's something that you're really passionate about, you can pursue it at any stage. That's, you know, that's completely all right. As long as you're very confident that, you know, this would be something that you want to do for the rest of your life.
Okay. And one other question. Since the results were declared, since you found out, you know, you cracked the exams, and not only you cracked, you know, secured a all India ranking as well. How much has your life changed ever since then?
Little bit of, you know, media attention, but apart from that, not really, not much. I mean, I have the same friends, same family support and everything, not much otherwise. Now, you know, only after training, maybe, you know, I can have a, you know, say something on to that question, but apart from that, you know, not really so much. I'm just feeling a little more relieved and safer and secure.
Okay, I guess then
personally, at a personal
we'll
level.
have to wait perhaps another 2 years before we can get a genuine answer to that particular question. All right, that pretty much brings me to the end of our interview, but not before I ask you one last question, which is again on a very lighter note. Of course, being an IAS officer, which is what you're going to become once you come out of the academy, it's of course something of immense responsibility, and you've already mentioned how you plan to serve the society and the country at large. But supposing you were given a choice destination, or rather say a dream posting anywhere within the country, what would that where would that place be, and why?
A dream posting. For me, of course, like, I think my priority would be serving the state, but that's not how, you know, UPSC works. In there are cadres, so I would definitely want to serve in AgMed cadre, where, you know, I would get a lot of diverse challenges. I would meet a lot of challenges and be posted in different states. So I won't say particular, you know, state per se, but I would say like AgMed cadre would be my ideal. But priority, of course, my state. I do want to, you know, be able to contribute here.
It sounds like a very noble thought. So basically, you just want to sort of get as much experience as you can from throughout the country, and perhaps bring all of it together, come back to our state and do something for us. Right?
Yes.
Right. Thank you very much. And with that extremely noble thought and encouraging words, we come to the end of the interview. Friends, as you've seen, we in our state are definitely not lacking when it comes to exceptional, extraordinary mind, and the ladies of our state are definitely leading the way. As you saw today, we have a candidate who cracked the UPSC exam, and we've spoken to her, and you've heard and seen her ideas, what she has in mind, and I think this is the kind of youth icons, people that we need more in our state to look up to, so that we can have a more positive impact in our society and guide our state's future towards a better and prosperous future. And with that, I shall take leave from you today. Thank you very much for joining us. I will be back with you soon again with another special program. Until then, keep watching Doordarshan Kendra Itanagar. Thank you very much. Goodbye.